Okay, so we're back again, and today we wanted to talk about how we feel like God led us to each other. In 2016, I started going to church more often. And it was actually a 7-day Adventist church. This video was not about like which denomination is correct. This particular church and the way that they discuss the Bible was just really appealing to me.
You were a Baptist before, right? Or did you?
I did go to church. My dad was a part of Brooklyn Baptist Church in Columbia, South Carolina. And I would go to church quite often, even when my parents didn't go to church because they were busy, with work and things. I was pretty active in church at a young age. And then in college, not as much. I went to school at Winthrop University in Charlotte, and I went to church every now and then, but not very often. I did sing on a praise team.
Oh, you did?
And then I sang on choir when I was younger, and then also in college a little bit. I ushered, all the things that you normally do in church. But then I kind of fell off. I stopped going to church because eventually I moved to Aiken, South Carolina, and I was teaching, and the partner that I was with at that time, he wasn't big on religion, and I wasn't really connecting to it, and so I didn't really feel like it was important at the time. And then I moved out on my own, still in Aiken, and I was trying to find out, who I was, the usual. Who am I after this relationship? I don't know who I am, all this, and dating around. And I actually started going to church again, and the 7-day Adventist church.
Who invited you initially? Was it?
It was.
Did you just find out on your own, or was there someone who?
It was actually one of my friends that I was hanging out with at the time, because he was always around me all the time, and he was going through a transition as well, as far as with religion and getting closer to God. And so he had found this church and he invited me, and I knew one of the members because he used to come into the gym that I worked at, and he was also the youth pastor, Bible study leader. So we went to visit the church, and the church was okay, but there was a really big young adult group, and we started bringing in more people and talking more, and just the way that the youth leader discussed a lot of the Bible, just the key points within what it means to be a Christian, really brought me in. I liked the way that he answered things and the way that he put things, and you never felt like there was a stupid question or that he was just throwing away your question. And I really liked that. And so through going to those Bible studies and going to church more often, I was like, okay, I need to change my life. I need to incorporate this into my everyday life. And I just was on fire for God. I was looking at scriptures all of the time. I really tried to work it into my life. And I mean, even to the point where I was even maybe too much, where with my mom, for instance, I was just like shoving it on her, shoving it on everyone, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on fire. Like, I want everyone to know about God.
I remember you telling me the stories.
And that's the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
But when you're on fire and you feel like you know the truth, and you feel like you want to share it, you want people that you love to know it too, and to be on fire for it as well. I was young and in my faith, in really discovering it and being close to God, and so I did make some missteps. But anyway, so I also realized that in my dating life that I had just made a lot of mistakes in my past. And so I decided that I was going to be celibate. So I was celibate, and I stayed that way for a while. This was even before I started going to this church. I was celibate. I like recommitted again when I brought like religion back into my life. And I don't know, religion is like people don't like the word religion, so maybe like God back into my life, let's say that. And then I realized that I just couldn't find anyone who was on the same level as me, that had the same goals, that liked me, that, was around my age and was looking for marriage and, a life partner, and, to cling to God together. And I just was like, well, maybe I won't find anyone. Maybe that's in God's plan, that I'm just not going to find a partner, and that's fine. And so I just kind of was over it. I had went on so many just dates that were going nowhere with people, men that claimed they were Christian, but they really, they weren't following all the tenets. They really weren't. They weren't interested in coming to Bible study, because at this time I was hosting a Bible study with all of my friends at the church, in my apartment every Friday, consistently, and we would invite just lots of people to come. It was a really cool moment in my life, and I would want to share that with people I was dating, but they were feeling uncomfortable. And I really feel that was because they just weren't ready to really be on fire for God. And so I gave up on it. And it seemed like immediately after that is when I met Chris. And so if you're interested in how we met, you can watch that video, the couple Q&A, interracial couple Q&A. But one of the questions that I asked him was, did he go to church? Because I just wasn't even interested if he wasn't, I know that we are supposed to share the word, but me being on fire for God and also being new in my faith, I wanted to make sure that I was with someone who was kind of at the same level as me, and I wasn't going to have to like pull into my faith, because that's very difficult to keep your own faith if you are linked to someone else who's not interested in that. And so he said he did go to church, and so that was one of the main things that really like brought us closer. And then when we went on our first date, after that, a few days later, he came to Bible study, which was like, yes, he's coming to Bible study. He came. His father is a pastor, and so it was just like, oh yes, like all these things are aligning. So he's familiar with the Bible and God. I mean, maybe he's not perfect in his faith, but we can really grow together. And I feel like we did. He started hosting Bible studies with me because we were always together anyway. And
I never considered myself a host, but I guess we both prepared.
Pretty much did, yeah.
I would make the little
we had snacks and
display.
My spiritual gift, I guess, is serving. So that was something that I really loved, to make sure that everyone had nice food, a good environment, when they would come to Bible study, just so that my youth Bible study leader, he could just everyone was comfortable, and then he could just reach them where they were with all of his points that he was making from his teaching. And it was a really fun time. I think a really enriching time. And anyway, Chris started helping with that, and he actually grew really close to everyone in the group, and he was asking questions and really questioning what he believed and what he had grew up with, and it was a really great time. So what's your pre-relationship experience with God?
And my life has always been in waves, usually, with religion, because as you said, I was always, my father's a pastor, Baptist denomination, Southern Baptist mostly, so I grew up around that fried chicken, mac and cheese, and and that good old country cooking after the Sunday service.
Yeah.
I grew up with that, and there are times in my life where I was ripping and running with Jesus and doing all of the activities, but then there are also times where I just didn't care anymore. When it came to the time when we met, I had been working a restaurant managerial position, which requires me to give up all weekend activities I want to do to work at the church, or not, to work at the restaurant rather. And so I hadn't been going to church in a long time due to the work itself that entailed me. Like, I was there all the time. It sucked. But do not recommend going into restaurant management. Anyways, when I met you asked me if I had gone to church. I think what I actually said was my father's a pastor, because I wasn't currently going to church at the time. I was working all the time. I had previously gone to church maybe a couple of years prior at different hit and miss intervals, nothing consistent. I never found a Bible study group, but then you invited me to the Bible study group on Friday. I was like, that sounds awesome. I never had a girl invite me to a Bible study group. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I can make that time. I can swing it. I work in the morning. Like, I get off at like 7. I think I was late. Did I change even?
No, you didn't. I didn't think he was coming, actually.
That's right, because
then he showed
up. It was late when I came. It wasn't even on time.
He still had on his smelly kitchen.
I smelled like
clothes.
kitchen. I think I apologized when I came out. I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I came over right when I got off work, and I smell like flour and frying and a bunch of other stuff. Even though I'm wearing this managerial outfit, like it's like a button-up shirt and dress pants. It's all covered with grime and stuff because you gotta get in there. Anyways, came in all smelly, and it was very interesting and a unique experience on the Bible study, because most of the Bible studies I go to are very feely, very they get you in the feels, and it's about the emotional connection with God. I liked the methodology that they used, which was more informative, and it was a take that I'm familiar with, but I've always been in line with. Like, even in high school, I remember I had a speech class, and in that speech class, I gave an apologetic speech. Like, apologetics being like using science to show that God exists, using science and rationality, logic, and philosophy. And I did all that, C.S. Lewis quotes and everything. And so going into it in a depth that I've never been accustomed to, I was pleasantly surprised to have that. And so I kind of just dug right in. One of the most fascinating things was like language and Greek, the original Greek used in the Bible and the original Hebrew used in the Bible, and how that's been translated over the years, and how we use it in different versions. Anyway, let's get into the whole nitty-gritty of things I like. Let's just say that I got into it, and from Friday on, I was sold. I was like, this is awesome. I want to learn more and more and more about this and explore my faith further. And it just so happens that I was with you during that time. You invited me to it. You were kind of like the key component to bringing me back into the fold, because at the time, like I said, I was working in a restaurant and I hadn't gone to church in a while, even though I've had that, I had that foundation. It never, I was in a gap year, I suppose.
Yeah, and we were consistent on that, and from when we started dating until when we left to go to China. So we had a lot of good role models in the group too, like as far as like Christian couples, A&D, yeah. And then T and K. Also M&D. They came in later.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. And so we kind of got to see what it looked like to be a good Christian couple, follow, good moral values. They were all married already, but you know, what it could look like, and, you know, how do we respect each other, and how do we use God to get closer together. That, I think, was something that helped us to stay celibate while we were dating, which was super hard.
Oh yeah.
It was super, because we were spending so much time together.
Oh, you have no
We were
idea.
together all of the
no
time.
idea.
It was very
From that,
difficult.
like, at that point forward, we were head over heels for each other, and that my only thought was, I can't wait to get to see you again while I'm at work. And I was obsessed with work, and I had dated other women before, but nothing like this, to where I was just like, my only thought was, I need to leave work to see you. When before it was like, I need to stay at work.
We also had our faith in common, and that was also something that would bring us together, and we would have deep conversations. And he's more, like, you can tell, he's more rational. He wants to dig into the word, dig into the translation and the history behind it, and I'm more emotional.
Yeah.
But the group, the Bible study, they did bring me around with the rational first. They answered all of my questions that I had, but then from that point on, I was like emotionally invested. Yeah, I think we have not found a group like that since, which is
No, we haven't.
something that we've been trying to recreate, kind of, but it just has never happened, that we found a group like that where we felt safe and comfortable and able to just talk, and we didn't feel judged or anything.
You hosted it. I mean, and I helped out with the hosting at the time. Where we're at now, we can't host.
True, yeah, we can't do that.
We're in a
And it's different now because we have a child too, so that's a little different.
I think that'd be beneficial. They could watch the child,
but
or
it
somebody
was
could.
even nice, since we were hosting, that even the talks we had with people before and after Bible study were good. Like, even after Bible study was over, we would have like really good conversations. And I felt like that helped to like foster our faith. And then we got married. 7 months after we met, we got married, because I was gonna move to China to go teach, and I wanted Chris to come with me, so we got married so that he could come on a spouse visa. And, you know, it was time to connect. We'll just say that. It was a really great ceremony, and even in the ceremony, like, Chris prayed beforehand. He went early before we got married and like prayed with God, and I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, this man is on fire for God. Like, he would do this thing when we would be driving in the car where, and he still does it, where an ambulance passes by, and he'll always stop and pray for whoever the ambulance is going to. I mean, I said that in my vows. Who does that? Like, I've never heard of anyone doing that. And it was just so sweet and so thoughtful. And, you know, God picked him just for me, you know? Like, I was thinking, well, he's just not out there. Like, there's no one out there who's weird enough or sweet enough, and also, like, you know, wants to be close to God and has faith, and, you know, is just, I don't know, I don't want to say like a good person, but someone that has good values, has a good work ethic. You know, I just couldn't find that person that would fit. And then there he was, like, you know, staring at me while I was trying to take care of my mom and she's vomiting in the bushes. Check out that other video. I mean, I just thought we should share a story, because I don't think we really talk about it that often, but God brought us together. Like, I feel like if we didn't have those Bible studies and we didn't have that common faith, that we probably would have misstepped. A lot of times in my past relationships, you know, being intimate too soon, not having those deep conversations and understanding who each other is as a person. And you know, if someone has the same faith as you, you know their values, supposedly, right? I told you about those other people that I dated that said they were Christian, but they really weren't, or they weren't following all the values that I was. Let's just say that. And so that's somewhere that we were on a good baseline. We had a good foundation, and so we really went into marriage in a good place. Not saying that everything's perfect. You know, we're humans. We have things that we're still working on.
You know, it also should be said that, and we mentioned this in another video, how we discovered later on that we were living literally right beside each other for at least a year or so. But you had at some point you live in an apartment complex. I was renting a house. The house was just right over.
One lot over.
One lot over
Right
to turn
there.
into the apartment complex that you lived at. And you've walked across the street to the
There's a gas station. right across the
station.
street.
I've been over there a couple of times. We never crossed paths, and it's interesting that I feel like God planned it out to where it wasn't the right time for us to meet until a certain time later. You had gone to the restaurant that I worked at too.
Yeah, often. Yeah, I think I've been there a few times because
And I'm always
I think the pastor
there.
liked to go there.
Always. Like I was never not working. It was crazy how often I was there, and we'd still never crossed paths.
I know. I mean, it was in God's time, so everything
Yeah.
happens in God's time. If it's God's will, then it will happen when it's supposed to happen.
And you were in the same city I lived in South Carolina. You went to Winthrop. You said Charlotte earlier, but Winthrop is actually in Rock Hill. I lived in Rock Hill the same time you went to Winthrop. I had my high school
years.
experience in Rock Hill, I think.
And Chris is a little bit younger than me.
Yeah,
2 years.
2 years.
And I was in college in Rock Hill, and I think a little bit after, and still in Rock Hill, and you were in high school and a little bit after.
I wasn't much after.
Whatever.
Like 6 years
Yeah.
after I worked a little bit, but I was pretty much a shut-in with my parents until I was 24.
Same city, and it's a
Same
small
city though,
town.
yeah. And if I had met you at that time, we would have. It wouldn't have been right. We
definitely
wouldn't have
would
connected.
not
We
have
had
connected.
nothing going for us at the same level. But it's interesting that there are these multiple times where we could have met. It feels like God just like, no, not yet, not yet.
It's been how long now? We've been married for
4 years.
4 years?
And we met before that like a year prior almost. 7 months. So almost 5 years. We've known each other for about 5 years.
And it was because of God. God did it.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm just very grateful that I found God and He gave me what I was looking for. And all I had to do was just wait and be patient. And the minute that I surrendered my will to God's will, then He was there, you know. I think there was Chris, you know, just waiting for me. I don't not waiting.
I don't think I was waiting, but
He didn't know he was waiting for me, but he was waiting for me.
I was actively searching, and then he came.
Yeah. What do you want to end with?
I will say that love is a complicated thing, but being married is saying I do every morning, because we change so much throughout our lives, and the people that we were before, even biologically speaking, there we go with science again, biologically speaking, our cells are not the same as they were when I was 25, 20, 15. I'm a completely different person. And if I were to meet my 21-year-old self, even in physical capacity as well as mental, they would not be the same, even though I'm the same person. So saying I do every morning is saying that like I do again, and always and forever. And that's what love is continuing to say I do even through the hard times and happy times, even though somebody's changed, or passions, they come and go, whether they're things that you like or the things that you originally attached to the person that you like now. But yeah, that's love. I do every morning.
Well, and that's good that we have our faith too, because
Yeah.
the Bible tells us what love is and how we should treat each other, and we have our faith, so hopefully we can tend to our relationship and make sure that it thrives. I want to shout out to our Bible study group, our old Bible study group. We don't need to say names or anything in case anybody wants to protect their privacy, but I really think they had a role in bringing us together and like fostering us in our relationship.
Definitely.
And
Whether they did it intentionally or just through modeling good behavior.
And that's another thing, just being a good Christian brings more people in and causes people to be better and grow better and even like push them towards God's will. And that was shown in like us coming together. Just him coming to Bible study, if it didn't go well, that could have, put a stumbling block in Chris's way to stop him from, coming back to God. But he came to Bible study and it went well, not only just with me, but with, he liked the vibe, he liked the atmosphere, he liked the way that it was taught, the Bible study. And because of that, it opened him back up again and he was able to reach out to God. And so I just want to shout out to them. You guys may not think that you had any kind of effect, but you did. Like, we have a little girl now, almost, she's 2 2.5,
2.5-year-old,
and we're blessed. And
I don't have hair because of her.
You had a role in that, so shout out to everybody. You know who you are. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. So if you are interested in hearing about how we met or what it's like being an interracial couple or what our life was like in China, check out some of these videos.
It's right here in the middle for sure. Ding, ding, ding. And also, I was going to say, Bible study group, come on over to Oregon.
We miss you.
We miss you. Come to Oregon.
Please.
Move in.
We need you back in our lives. All right.
Aren't we doing that? Doesn't make any sense.
We're ending this. Bye.